Smells like somebody bought us lunch. Did somebody bring lunch in?
It might be me.
I haven't eaten yet.
I was sitting in a...
And I can smell food.
I was sitting in a coffee shop this morning for a while, and it sort of absorbed into my clothes. So that might be it. No food.
It smells like a good coffee shop.
It may smell like oil.
Wow.
I was cooking earlier.
Cooking oil?
Cooking oil.
Ooh, that's what I smell. Grease.
It's grease, yeah.
Oh.
Lot grease.
Mmm.
Happy Hanukkah.
Oh, thank you. Are we on it? Now, I will call this Tuesday, December 16th special meeting of the Knox County Commission to order. All three commissioners are here. And I will open up the floor to any public comment. If anybody has anything they'd like to share with the commission. Seeing as there's none, we'll move down the agenda. And we have consent items which would be approved with reserve withdrawals. So I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll just call for the vote. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Action items. We have a number of items here. The number one is an act to approve the use of the 2025 adopted budget as the county's interim operating budget beginning January 1st, 2026 until the 2026 budget is finalized. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just looking at the wording of the motion.
Kathy, would you like to?
And I think you had made a comment as potential rewording of it that could be operate on an interim budget while which shall not exceed the previous year's budget, because that's really what we're looking to do, is that we would, whatever our bottom line number is by department is what we're going to begin our budget operating to.
Absolutely. If I can have the floor for a minute. When I saw this, I was in shock because this says basically we're going to do exactly what we did in last year. And the wording of the law for the interim budget doesn't say we have to do exactly what we did before. It says basically that the bottom line can't be any greater than what you spent before. Operate under last year's budget. And the problem with last year's budget is it doesn't accommodate some of the things that we would like to do, even though we don't have extra money. We still would like to honor our requirements in terms of the union contracts, in terms of what we pay our employees. And if we kept the lines the same, we couldn't pay them any more than we paid them last year. You know, and whatever it is, whether it's health insurance or oil or anything, we'd be condemned to spending exactly what we spent last year, which really absolutely won't work. So I would like to probably make an amendment, but I would like to go even further. Is the problem that I have with this is, though we want to see changes, I would like to know what those changes are going to be before we, adopting an interim budget, we don't even have to adopt it. The law just says we can operate under an interim budget. We don't need to adopt that. What I would like to see us do is adopt whatever it is that uses the strategies that we're planning on using to make up those changed lines. You know, if we have to say, okay, because we're going to be spending more for our employees, we're not going to be able to spend it on whatever it is, a contractor who's doing work for us. At least for the first few months, I just would like to have us have some knowledge of what it's going to be rather than just saying, oh, go ahead and do it. I think that's what our fiscal responsibility is to make sure that it happens.
Right.
So the problem I have with approving this at all is we're not really approving the budget. We're just saying it's okay to have an interim budget without changing anything. So though we could change the wording of this, and that would be fine, it's not doing what I would like to see us do, if that makes sense.
I agree. Well, a couple questions. Number one, we can't spend any more than we spent in 2025.
Correct.
But if we are secure in the fact that we are going to have a 2026 budget later this year, that would allow us to increase the pay and take care of the contracts and the insurance and things like that, and hoping that we don't run out of money in October.
That's not fiscally responsible.
I understand. I'm devil's advocate here.
We are not, well, devil's advocate or not, we can't be sure that we will have more money than we have
Just
last
making
year.
sure that. So in that case, do we have the funds that we spent in other things last year? Do we know where those are coming from to transfer, to move around? Is that the question you're asking? Where are we getting?
I'm not asking where we're getting the money because that comes from taxes.
No.
You know, I mean, but what I want to know
where are
is
we transferring it from?
right from what line to what line. Within
Right.
a department, we certainly have the ability to move money around. But
My
I would
question-
like to know where.
Yeah, my question to Kathy would be, in looking at all the budgets, is there enough money to move around from last year's budget to take care of people insurance, where people come first, rather than things or something like that? Do we have the monies available to us to take care of those changes?
Yes and no. I will say, and I'm excluding corrections from any of my comments because that's that's a moving target and that's still being worked on. So everything I'm saying does not include them. Half of our departments could cover the increase for 26 to include the health insurance change. And they can cover it from various ways, that they've had changes in personnel that may have been at lower steps than what was last year. People have dropped insurance that had insurance, a lot of different moving parts, an increase in revenue projected versus what they had last year. But half of the departments don't have a mechanism to cover. They can cover partially. I will use finance as an example. If I eliminate my overtime line, meals, auto mileage reimbursement and training, I can cover a piece of it. I can't cover all of it. And quite a few departments are in that same situation.
Let me ask, and that's because one of the things that I learned about the county is we basically are a government that provides services through the people we have. We don't do things as much as like the towns do, as much as we're basically people oriented, and those people provide services. So that's why there's not money to move around, because we're not buying new plow trucks and things like that.
Correct. That physical purchases that can be delayed are a pretty small percentage of our budgets. So computers, things like that, we wouldn't be moving forward with. Those would be on delay. Capital purchases like vehicles for the sheriff's office would be in delay, so that wouldn't be factored in. But we don't have a lot of those purchases.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Mm-hmm. So when I'm looking at all of the departments, if we moved forward with increases, we are potentially like about 308,000 uncovered, meaning that we, at this particular time, don't have a means to cover it. Now, I think that we could reduce that some by going line item by line item and making very hard choices. Do I think that we could cover all of it? No. The biggest piece of that is communications. Communications alone is 206 of that.
Okay.
And that doesn't have a lot of variation in that.
No, it's all people.
It's people, and then it's contracts, it's towers, it's maintenance for towers. That very small percentage is training, meals, supplies that could be variable.
Right.
We do have a building lease that we have in 25 that we won't have in 26, which is $67,000, which could help to offset that. We also have, from a capital perspective, we have $191,000 that was for sheriff vehicles. But I say that with a caveat that they may be already anticipating using that money to cover their overtime, which they've very much overspent in 25.
Right.
So on paper, that looks like that's available, but they may have it factored in other places.
So that leads to my question. Knowing what Ed would like to accomplish, we don't have the funds for it right now.
The only option you have in order to move forward is to, I will use the word accept, that there may be a shortfall, and that would have to come from undesignated. If we don't get a 26 budget, or we don't get approval of a 26 budget, you're making a decision to move forward, and that if we can't, as we continue plugging away at things that we can put on hold or eliminate, that we would then fund the difference from undesignated at the end of the year.
And do we have enough in undesignated funds to do that?
Right now, from a general fund undesignated, we're at 10%. We'd like to be at 20%.
Right.
I'm hoping that we're going to end 25 at least 14 or 15%. So
Okay.
I'm hoping we're going to be having more than that. The challenge that we run into is communications isn't going to have an undesignated. And the only way that we can legally help them with any overage is to use contingency fund. So there's options, it's just they're hard choices to make.
Right.
Is there a way to do this as a 6-month budget? I mean, because we're adopting whatever we want at this point. As we're basically just accepting an interim budget and aiming for something. The question is, we're aiming for a certain number halfway through the year. And if we can do it based on halfway and it works, then we know what we could do the rest of the year. We're hopeful we don't have to go through the whole year of this.
Yeah.
But at least the 6 months would allow us to do it and do that jockeying and still give everybody and give us an idea at the end of that what our contingency or our undesignated fund would be. I mean, is that a way to go about it, or should we be thinking about the whole year?
I'm not exactly so you're suggesting moving forward with 26 increases for 6 months versus a full year? Is that
No,
what you're-
no.
Okay.
I'm just talking about keeping the bottom line the same, the
Yeah.
2025,
Yeah.
but doing our changes that we think we can do
Mm-hmm.
for the first half of the year. And then worrying about the second half. If we have to change that, then we adopt whatever we need to at that point.
I think we would need to move forward with direction to department managers as far as what their spending looks like, which would be minimal, only necessary spending.
Yeah.
That even though overtime may be needed in departments, that it should be minimized, because that's a big line item. That, as I'm saying that, that's easier said than done, because there's still work that needs to happen, there's still shifts that need to be covered. So that's a variable, but it also has a direct impact on departments by saying we need you to minimize that spending. And then as we go along, we can evaluate, and then we may need to take even harder choices when we're hitting first quarter and we're not where we think we should be. Then we may be into, let's say, canceling a contract if we feel like the 26 budget isn't going to move forward.
Right.
And that's sort of why I'm talking about a 6-month thing, is so that we can, at that point, say, oh, we have to make even harder choices, or it's not as bad, or we do have to go. So I don't know if that makes any sense.
Should
That
we check in quarterly?
Whether we check in quarterly, that we make sure, I just want to find a mechanism that as bad as it's going to be, we can sort of, not fight the whole thing off right away?
We're definitely, I mean, this is a very large challenge for us. I've also asked the auditors to move up our audit so that we have a better idea of where we're going to end this year. Normally, we keep our year open until, let's say, the end of February to make sure we capture all 25 expenses. We're going to have to cut that off quicker just because we're in a very difficult situation. So
Let me just, 1 second. I want to thank you and the county administration for making sure that we have an audit every year. I believe that some of the problems that some of the counties have is they haven't had an audit every year. So we do know exactly where we stand, and if we move that ahead, it's even better. Because I know how busy the auditors are and how much work it takes, they may not be able to move it up ahead, but at least we're moving in that direction. So thank you very much for being on top of that, too. Okay, now whatever you say. I have to
and we're going to keep
interrupt
our fingers
something.
crossed that they will continue. I mean, as of right now, we're scheduled for 25. but-
If you'll pardon me, the reason I interrupt sometimes when somebody's talking is not because I have more important things to say. It's just that I'm old and my memory doesn't usually last to the second sentence. So I blurt things out, if you don't mind. You were going to say. I hope you can still remember.
I have that same one problem. My question, in a rather somewhat humorous vein, hopefully, is if you were foolish enough to be up here instead of one of us, what would be your recommendation to how to handle
That's
it?
not fair.
What's that?
That's not fair, because I have to look at it from a different perspective than you do.
I know.
And what I think is risk, I can't answer that.
Okay. Because you have more knowledge than we are ever going to have about this.
I will say that right now, if nothing else happens, and I say that if, and we have enough in undesignated to cover on paper what it looks like we would be short to move forward with 26. But that leaves us at risk of really diminishing what's in undesignated way below what our comfort zone is.
That includes making some of those hard choices beforehand, cutting some of that stuff? And we still have enough. It's not like we're going to go ahead with the full 2026 on a designated balance.
If I understood, that on paper is kind of worst case scenario. And hoping that as we continue working with department managers, but also in order to make this really work, all department managers have to be on board to support each other. That if we have departments that are larger, that want to be a silo and only take care of what their department needs are, this isn't going to work. Because we have supporting departments that have no mechanism to reduce further than a very small percentage, and we can't cover ourselves, but we're supporting the bigger departments.
Right.
If I may. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I also was coming at this thinking it would really be nice to have at least the first quarter for us to take a look at. But if I understand what you're saying, it seems like it doesn't make sense to do a quarter or 6 months because you really need to take the full context of the year into account to have an accurate assessment of what this is going to do to the overall budget. So it sounds like it does not, from my perspective, make sense to do those shorter terms. And it does sound like department heads are going to be thinking about this probably 24 hours a day until we have a fix. So in the future, what I would like to see happen is I would like to have a report out at every meeting that we have from you, and I'd like all the department heads to be here for those meetings just to give us an update on where things stand as we're working our way through this. Because if we can't have a clear picture from the outset, we at least all need to be on the same page going forward. And it gives us an opportunity to say, is there anyone who is not being a team player in this? We need to understand that. and make sure that everybody is on the same team and working forward together. So, and if we need to, if once a month is not enough, which it may not be, then maybe we need to have some special meetings in between so that we, as a body, are staying on top of things as they change and develop. That, you know, to me, that feels like sort of a compromise to having an actual budget that we can work from, that we're at least being informed on a very regular basis about where things stand. I don't. How does that sound?
Reasonable.
Okay.
Which is why I would like to see us have a little bit more contact before with the different departments. What you've described is almost a policy thing. No, every department is not separate from every other department. We are working together on this budget and this problem. And I would like all of the department heads to know. That's why I say, well, I'd like to see what the strategies are, whether it does cross from public department to department, so we know who's playing what, position, as it were. Rather than just say after the first month, oh, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. I'd like everybody to know before we do this exactly what everybody's supposed to do. So everybody knows beforehand that their department is, unfortunately, because they have more things they spend their money on, that they're going to be curtailed to help out another department. And so I would really like us, because this is our financial responsibility, to have a better grasp of what different departments are doing, as I say, the strategies that we're taking, and not after the fact, but before it happens.
I like Morgan's idea of having the department heads in the meeting, so that if certainly to start off with in January, if we would, so that we can get a handle on if they're all working together or if somebody's not.
And what the strategy is to Ed's point.
I think it's a great idea. I will throw out, like, Deeds is projecting that their revenue for 26 will be higher than 25, which will help all of us.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a projection. If that changes, that has a big impact on our dollar value. Sheriff's Department has a very big budget, understandably, so there's a lot of variation there. And I wish Pat was here, that's what I was turning around for, because I don't want to speak for them, but if we're saying we need overtime minimized, that may mean that there is something in that department that needs to change that would have an impact in some capacity. At one point it was mentioned that maybe patrol of certain would need to stop. I don't want to speak for them, but just as an example of, in order for them to do business as usual, they need X amount of money. If we're saying, well, we really need you to operate with less, what does that mean for them? Similar to finance, if you're taking out my overtime, it is going to be a struggle to meet the requirements to get ready for an audit. We'll get there, but that's going to come more on me instead of a team atmosphere of getting there. But we'll get there, but there is impact of these decisions.
There will be speed.
Yeah, and we apologize that this is where we are. Unfortunately, this is...
It's temporary.
It's hopefully temporary, and hopefully next year's budget won't be going up 25% to make up for this. But we'll have to go up, whatever it is, 5 or 8%, just to make up for what we need to do in the next year. Yeah. And so the unfortunate problem here is we're talking about 2 or 3 different budgets all at the same time. We're also talking about, if we do get to approve a real budget in the future, what's that going to look like at the same time? We're not going to, even if we get more money or we get the opportunity to have another budget, we certainly aren't going to just keep this interim budget. That's going to have to go up some. And so the question is, how long is it going to take us to put that budget into place too?
Right, and if we move forward with 26, you've created you've already approved something that the budget committee has to approve along with you. Although they don't approve based on line items per se,
Right.
but we'll move forward with a decision excluding them from that decision.
So I have a question about if at some point we have a 26 budget we can put together. Normally, that would have been done already, and the towns would have to be prepared to pay it. What happens if we come to them in June and say, okay, now we've got our new budget and here's your bill for what, the past services? It's going to be a difficult world for them as well, I would imagine.
I would imagine that also, and I would hope we would have an idea by first quarter as far as when we would have something to them. And Chelsea had pulled together information as far as when the towns go to town vote so that we're aware of those dates. And I would hope that maybe there's some level of flexibility that if we don't have our information into them, that they may be able to push their vote forward a little bit, or if not, make an assumption of what we're going to need from them.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because I know the Camden budget meeting is the month of April usually, and they vote for it in June, but they need to prepare for it because I'm involved in that still. So just trying to think beyond just our walls and make sure that the towns, we need to communicate with them really well about, so they're prepared for an increase as we get to hopefully monies that we will be able to do. So just thinking ahead a little bit.
And I think just looking at both sides of the coin, that employees are anxiously waiting to hear what direction do we go in, just because if there's been mixed messages because we've been in such a flux. So I think just a decision to them so that they know, obviously morale we've gone through a lot, which has affected a lot of people. The other side of that is the public facing of that we do not have a 26 budget, but we're moving forward with 26 increases potentially.
Again, from my perspective, people are more important than things. I'd rather see people get what they need, and then.
And we're going to try our best to cover every last dime of that, and it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be painful for managers more than others, but hopefully we can minimize the impact to employees.
Okay. Well, it's important. This is not a job. I can speak for ourselves and managers. It's not a job you take and with the expectation that it's always going to be good and happy and gosh, this is fun. We have to be prepared for the tough times, and that's why people become managers. And we will get through this, and hopefully we'll get through it nicely. But it's a tough time right now.
One other issue I have with the language of this motion is it says until the 2026 budget is finalized, and we don't know that it will be. So I think I'm okay with approving the use of the 2025 adopted budget as the county's interim operating budget beginning January 1st, 2026, based on what Kathy has talked to us about. I think we might want to change the language that's a little less definitive at the end.
You can certainly make an
Make
amendment.
an amendment.
Until the new budget is approved, because if we can't move forward to 26, then we potentially are going to be operating on 25 through
Yeah.
27.
Right.
Yeah.
God forbid. but-
Yeah, I would say until a new budget is approved.
That sounds-
That's good, helpful
I
language.
I think we should make an amendment and we should vote on that.
Sure.
See, but again, I think this thing, by saying we're going to do what the law says we're going to do, is a redundancy.
So we don't.
And I don't even know that we need it. When I say approve a
Yeah.
budget, I would like
That's
to
a good
approve
point.
the strategy that we're talking about, with the different departments. Just some basic idea that says what we're really planning on doing. That would be the budget I would vote in favor of. And again, I don't know that we have to do it. I would like to do it now. I would have liked to have done it, but if we do it, in early January, at least everybody knows what we're standing on. I don't want to make it so much work that Kathy is now putting in all this overtime that she's not getting paid for.
I will say that we also need managers back on the 26 focus too. So
Yeah.
I guess we could have two different budget versions out there to managers. I think also it
Yeah.
really should be individual meetings with the county administrator, myself,
Right.
and the department managers to kind of talk through, because sometimes you just need to bat things around.
Yeah.
But I think we can work towards that.
So if you want to make the amendment, or we can vote it down, either way is okay as far as I'm.
I'm okay with voting it down, or do you want to table,
Table is fine.
since we may
Yeah.
want to vote on it?
Table it to the next month if you want to have other wording that we want to amend it at that point.
Yes, I think that's probably
Yeah. What do you think?
Fine with that.
So,
Make a
So
motion.
somebody make a motion
I'll
to
make a
table
motion
it.
that we table this until January.
I will second
The
that.
wording until January.
And any discussion? I think we've already discussed tabling it. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. And that leads into the second action item, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do that, which is an act to prioritize the continuation of scheduled CPI and step adjustments during the interim budget period. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Because I think that's exactly what we're trying to do here, is make sure that that's our big priority.
Yes.
Is, I think, we want everybody to know that that's our goal.
Yes.
And have the administration and finance use that as a guide for where we want, and so that everybody who's staff knows that that's what we're trying to do here.
Trying to do, or you're voting yes to do that as of January 1st?
We don't know what you're going to throw at us, whether there really is the money to do it or not. And so, if you find it, yes, that we want, that will be what we approve. But until we know for sure that you think there's the money there, I don't want to hamper everybody and say, oh, you're going to definitely do this, when we don't know if it's possible.
Well, the language is prioritize,
Yes.
so it's not,
I mean,
Well, we need to make it, because right now,
Yeah,
these
I
steps
agree.
would start in January.
yeah.
You're
And you
right.
said that, using contingency and all the different funds, you believe you can make it. It would put us at a very thin margin, but you believe you can do it. So we need to make a decision to move ahead with it.
Yes.
We can't postpone it anymore.
Well, you could. So, again, looking at all the departments and not just based on conversations that there's $300,000 that on paper we wouldn't be able to cover right now, not excluding corrections again. I can't say that enough.
Right.
We can always put in 26 increases at any time and retro back if that's what you choose. It's just that employees are, is this going to happen for me January 1st? Is this going to potentially happen later? What does this look like for me? So I think that's what we're asking right now, is that are employees going to get the 26 increase January 1st? Or is it going to pend to a future meeting to continue this discussion?
I don't know what else we would discuss beyond what we've discussed now until we know what's happening with the 26.
I'm inclined to vote for this today.
Well, I mean, I think she wants more stronger wording than just prioritize.
Correct.
I mean, I think the reason I want to prioritize is I want to give you, I want to give administration the authority, basically, to make this happen however you think it's going to happen. But I don't want to hamper you and say, oh, you've got to do this and this is the way to do it. I want to give you the leeway to do it the way, that you and administration feel is best to do it. If you'd like more guidance than that, we can change it from prioritize to
Authorize?
whatever the best word would be. What's the best word, Kathy?
I'm still a little fuzzy on the way you just said that. So I I guess that I don't think that this is an administrative decision as to whether to move forward with the 26 increases. I think that's a commission decision to either say yes, move forward as of January 1st, or I want to pen this decision to a future date when I have additional information, because that's what employees are looking. They need to know what's going to happen with this.
I think that the wording should be act to authorize the continuation of scheduled CPI during however that reads. Step adjustments during the interim budget period, because that's what we need to do.
Which is fine, that can be the, well.
Or maybe have a better wording.
No, that's fine, but.
I think I'm going to step back a little bit from what I just said about being ready to vote on this today. The only thing that gives me hesitation and makes me want to wait until January is I want to hear from the sheriff. Because we're hearing from Kathy's perspective that we're 300,000 over without the sheriff's budget. Is that what I'm understanding?
Without corrections.
Oh, without
So,
corrections. Okay.
The sheriff
Without
department
Yes.
is in this piece.
Okay.
Corrections isn't. But we would have a better idea by January. All the individuals in
Yeah.
corrections would be where they're going to
Yeah.
be.
Okay.
All the decisions of policies as
Yeah.
to what's happening with employees.
Yeah.
Plus, I would think at that point there's a better idea of what contracts are staying in place and what, from a corrections perspective.
Okay.
Um,
With that information, then I'm still inclined to wait until January and have the sheriff and Captain Wood here to fill us in on where things stand as it relates to all the work that you've
But
already
then
done.
people wouldn't get the raises.
But then it would have to be retroactive. And, but I think I would like to think that department managers will know that our intent is to do this, but we just need to be responsible and have more information before we make this decision.
I think that's very fair, that I think you've said it very well, that employees just need to feel that you're taking this very seriously. Not that you wouldn't take it
Sure.
seriously, but that you are prioritizing this.
Well,
And that
that's the
although it
wording
may
to
not be
prioritize.
January 1st, that we are hoping that we can do this and then retro it back, and that we will be able to accommodate that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we could be having some very serious department manager meetings to talk through the impacts and what we need from each other
Yeah.
to make this all work.
Two things. Number one, our next scheduled meeting would be the 13th of January. That's the second Tuesday. So that I will be out of town the Tuesday before, so can't be here before that.
And they may need that time. You may need that time. You wouldn't want to do it earlier necessarily.
I would say no. I mean, we're trying for a lot of people, managers especially, to take some time off.
Yes,
Um,
right. That's what I was thinking.
The 13th.
And give them a little bit of breathing room before we kind of dive back into this.
Yeah. But by the 13th,
And
do you feel like?
the one other thing I want to say, there's been, the way the press has reported changes with the corrections department. And I want to make sure that the employees know that. They keep terming it as we're making the change because of we don't have a 26 budget. And that's not why the change is happening. The change is happening because it's a financial decision to go to a better facility, to make sure that we don't need to put $50 or $100 million into a new prison in the short term. It saves us long-term money. It's a better situation, hopefully, for a lot of people. But it's not based that the misnomer is that we're not doing this because we didn't have a 26 budget. It would have been done anyway. And people need to understand, the other departments doing that. We're not looking to, we need more money, let's eliminate another department. That's not what that was about. And the press has never been clear about that in their reporting. And that may be our fault that we never articulated that clear enough. But, but we care about all the people, and I don't foresee changes in any departments or that we need to do layoffs because of this. We'll cut what we have to save the people. That's my perspective.
I just want to clarify about prioritize versus authorize. I understand where you're going, prioritize. However, I think that Kathy and others need a decisive vote from us. So that's why I'm
No, if
yeah.
you want to add authorize, that's fine, but that's,
I'd like to wait until January. So again, I'm wanting to table this again. Let's have the meeting in January. Let's hear from folks at that point, particularly corrections.
do you think everybody's going to get the message if we vote this, don't vote on this now?
That
I mean, that what we want is to make sure that it happens as soon as possible.
Let me ask,
we're
I
saying.
can get the message out for sure.
yeah, that's what I said, I was going to ask
I mean, because
Mike.
I would have thought that message was out there already. We've been talking about this for a couple of months now, and every time we've talked about it, we said, no, what we want to do is make sure we honor those things. So if the message hasn't gotten out so far.
It has, but until it's in writing and until they hear it, and it's
Well, but it's not going to be in
right.
writing if we vote this table.
Well, I mean, they'll finally get it from us in writing. They've heard it from you, but we haven't
As
sent
long
them
as,
anything.
as long as,
in writing.
so you haven't been writing and telling everybody what we've already been telling you all along.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Well, sorry.
It's also a public meeting that is recorded
Yes.
and it's on the website. So,
So,
there's that.
Kathy, are you okay with that as well, waiting until January?
Yes, and I think that employees have known that you support this for them. It comes down to they're looking, okay, great,
They want the
when is it
decisive
going to
action.
happen?
Yeah.
So I think the communication as far as it will not be as of January 1st, we're still going to work on that, and so that it's just, they know it's still in the forefront and has a definite of what the expectation is on that first day.
And obviously we can't say definitively what will happen in January, but it is our intent to vote for this in January. So we just need a little more information, I think.
So then is there a motion to table?
I would love to table this until January, please. That's my
I'll
motion.
second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion on the tabling?
Then, one more question. Is this going to cause any problems of tabling it for 1 month or for 3 weeks?
No,
No? Okay.
it's the same message. It's just,
Okay. I just want to make sure. I just, care about the people and
yep,
holidays.
yep.
And, okay.
Though I will say that some employees count on overtime to make up the money that they need to earn. And by doing this means that we're going to be canceling some overtime. It still affects some employees in terms of what their take-home pay is going to be. So as long as that's understood, that still is a burden that our employees are going to be carrying.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's temporary. And if anybody has an alternate idea, I'd love to hear it. I don't see any hands.
That being the case, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of tabling? 3 in favor, none opposed. Next act is an act to accept an administrative policy entitled Separation and Rehire Policy.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Would you like to?
I'll come up. I like this.
Stand, sir.
I like this seat better. To look directly at you. So we had discussed this in the last meeting, and you had asked for a little more broader policy to allow us more flexibility on a case-by-case basis, to allow us to take everybody's case at their own merits, right? So the basic line in here that states that we will review each situation on a case-by-case basis. However, I put a little bit of parameters around there so we're not veering out too much. Some guardrails in there, but they're not limited to it because we don't know what each person's situation is. So we'll review based upon performance, attendance, seniority, closely related experience in the new position, any relative training and certifications, policy compliance, operational budget, operational impact, budgetary considerations, comparative qualifications of other applicants, and current staffing needs. Basically, that's everything in that I can think of that are the top priorities of how we evaluate situations, but I don't know them all, so I gave us a but not limited to.
I read through it. I thought you did a wonderful job of giving us flexibility, but still within guidelines, and allow us to work with our employees as best we can.
Yep. And I also truncated it. We had different policies for each way to separate, and I just got rid of all that. Instead of a voluntary separation, involuntary, I just put separation. So we're going to take the same approach no matter how you left us.
Okay.
Other questions? My question here is the last sentence of the rehire after separation paragraph says, unless otherwise required by law or CBA, rehired employees may be treated as new hires for purposes of probation, seniority, compensation, and benefits eligibility. So it basically says, if somebody wants to come back, you may just treat them as if they're a brand new hire.
Depending on their situation, correct. For layoffs, we would not, for certain. But if they just left on their own merit, our CBA states and our standard policy and practices have been to treat them as a new employee. However, this also allows us the flexibility to adjust in some of those areas. So we'll take in consideration seniority, but we may not adjust their hire date. They may have a new hire date.
The
Right.
key word there is may be treated, which gives
Right.
us that
Right.
flexibility.
Correct.
Well, I don't see that we're going to gain anything by rewriting this for you.
Right?
So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't just approve it the way it is.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
But we already have.
Oh, we did?
Yes. Is there anybody in
Run discussion.
the audience that wants to comment on this?
I guess the only other thing I would add, I love the flexibility that this gives administrative staff, and I appreciate your work on this because we did ask you to go back and reconsider the written policy. It assumes a generosity of spirit amongst administrative staff, administration, and commissioners that may not always exist. I like to think it exists right now,
Yes.
and we want to do the best that we can. But in the future, and I think everyone is on the same page about that, but in the future, that may not be the case. However, I don't think the other policy, the older policies, would have changed that either. But I just want to point that out, that just as, when new governors come in or new presidents come in, things change. I think we have to keep in mind that that is also possible here too in the future.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Just an observation.
I'll try not to let it change.
Yeah, right, right. No, I trust that everyone who's here now has that generosity of spirit and wants the best for everyone in the county.
Yep.
Well, it is just a policy, and at any point in the future, if we don't trust their staff, we can change the policy.
We may not be here.
Well, whoever else can change the policy.
Yeah,
If they
yes, of course.
still feel that way. Plus, it also talks about elected officials where applicable.
Yes.
We're not part of that because we don't have any direct say in hiring employees. But I suspect this is more for the sheriff's department.
The sheriff's probate. Yep.
You know.
Yep. 100%. Correct.
Any further
All-inclusive plan here.
Yes.
discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Our next act is an act to accept an administrative policy entitled transfer policy.
So our old transfer policy stated.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Let's get a motion. on
Yeah,
the
yes,
floor.
you do. You sure do. I'm so
So-
excited up here. I'm ready.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, now you can open your mouth.
Okay. Take that back. So our old transfer policy was very simple. You kept your same step, which in reality for people that have been here for a very long time seems great. However, if you were here for 10 years and you were recently promoted and then we transferred you, our promotion policy moves you back 3 steps. So what good does that do to that individual?
Why does it do that?
It's how it was written. It's another one that I'm looking to adjust. I almost included it here as another adjustment, but since I haven't previously brought it up to you, I didn't want to throw you a curveball. This was most important given a recent situation. But that will be one we will be looking at down the road because we don't want our people going backwards just because the policy says so. Right? So, again, this policy is written the same way, allows us the flexibility to take everybody's situation on a case-by-case basis, uses the same language as the separation policy, because we want to be fair and equitable as possible and not lock people into some arbitrary step that they may have moved backwards on.
Do we have a copy of
Yeah, I
the
was just
policy?
wondering.
Can you talk about how they're all together in a single document?
Is okay. I was wondering.
Yeah,
if
oh,
it's
sorry,
it's
yeah.
The
So-
internal transfers
Right.
here.
Internal, right, the language is here.
Oh, okay.
My
This is-
administrative tasks weren't that great this time around. I was trying to save trees. We're in a budget crisis.
Okay, so it is part of this, yes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
said you weren't making it part of this, but you are.
Well, it's part of this, yes, but it was part of,
Not
it was
part of
separate before, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so we have read this, yes.
Correct, yes.
Great. Any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. The next one is an act to approve a transfer from the undesignated funds to the contingency reserve. Everything's about transfers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Kathy, would you like to enlighten us on this one?
Yes, statute states that when the contingency account is less than $100,000, we need to replenish it. We have utilized the contingency to assist communications with the overage that they have been having relating to per diem coverage. So that is, this will be our 3rd transfer to help cover that overage for communications. And this is our only legal way to assist a department, or excuse me, a different fund other than general fund.
Right, so this has been the mechanism we've been using to fund the overages of communications.
Correct, so once this transfer happens, I will then go in and transfer specific entries within per diem from communications into the contingency account.
A normal department, if they were having a problem with overages, it would come right out of the undesignated funds.
Correct, but communication is projected to utilize
It's a separate
100%
fund.
of their desk.
Yeah.
If we end the year better than we expect, we will do the opposite. But
Fingers crossed.
Right, but we do still think we have money there. And at the end of this year, we'll know exactly how much it is.
from the general fund
Undesignated.
undesignated, this on paper brings us down to 10%.
Okay.
And then after the audit, you're hoping you might be at more like 14.
I'm hoping that we end the year favorable, and yes, it would replenish it to 14.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed? All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Then the next one we have is an act to charge interest to municipalities for delinquent 2025 taxes and delinquent communication fees. And I think on the administrative summary special meeting sheet explains what towns are delinquent.
I'll make a motion.
It's been moved
Second.
and second. My only question is the interest rate. Do we have flexibility in what that interest rate is? That set by the state?
It's set by the state, and it is communicated in the invoices that go to the towns in April or May. So they get their invoice in April or May. Then in August, finance sends out a reminder to let them know that when their payments are due, what the payments are, and refreshes their memory on the interest rate percentage. And then once they do not meet the deadlines, we follow up again. So it's not that we just send one invoice and then not communicate again with the towns or the cities.
And it's also true that we are legally required to collect this,
The interest?
The interest, is that correct?
No, you can decide not to.
Oh, okay.
That's why it comes before you.
Okay. I thought, my understanding was that we were required, but, okay.
But the amount is set by the state.
The percentage rate is set by the state. As far as whether we move forward to charge that, that's up to the commission.
Question, how often do we run into this circumstance?
This is the most that we've had in a couple of years, but there's always a couple.
Okay. Do we have any idea why the arrears are happening? Some of these
I
instances?
can't say that I have
Okay.
asked the question. I'm also not the one that's following up. It's the finance specialist is following up with them. So.
Okay.
And we do go by the postmark on the envelope when it is mailed to us, not the date that we get it in hand, in order to be fair to them.
So I guess the only real choices that we're faced with here is whether we charge interest at all or not.
Correct. Whether you authorize me to invoice the $1,003.04 to the towns, cities listed.
Any further discussion?
I guess I just want to be 100% sure about our requirements here, because I don't know where it is in statute, but I thought it was a requirement that we collect this, these late charges. And if it's not a requirement, and Chelsea, I don't know if you have any information about that. Would be
For
helpful.
communication fees, the interest is discretionary. For
Communication fees.
for county tax, I believe the statute does say that it does become part of the tax.
Okay, so communications, we do have discretion, but county tax, we do not.
As usual,
I will say in past years, some years we go forward, some years it has been decided to not.
Okay.
I can say also that it hasn't been challenged when it's decided to not.
Yeah.
The town's not going to come forward.
Yeah, I don't expect they will. I just want to make sure from the state's perspective, we don't have a legal requirement if we decide.
There's no follow-up from the state on any of this.
Yeah.
I will say that we are borrowing money, so when the towns and the cities are not paying
Yeah.
us on time,
Yeah.
we are paying interest
We are
for
paying
the
interest,
TAN
okay.
money that we had to borrow to sustain us
That's
to get through.
helpful. Yeah, that's helpful information. Okay. Okay.
My only question is, this has been a particularly tough year for a lot of the, because of the reevaluations and stuff like that. I'm wondering if, as we just found out we're short on money, should we be gracious to the people about these taxes?
Well, I think that could go both ways. We've struggled for cash flow this year.
I understand.
We've had some very difficult times, as have the towns and the cities. And it also somewhat sets precedence that if we do not move forward, that then there's that level of flexibility moving forward in future years.
And also, it ends up going right back to the towns eventually anyway. It's sort of a dog eating its tail here. Okay.
So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a motion to amend it?
Um, I'd like, the dates are, yeah, I would like to amend it to give them some time to pay without the interest. It's not a lot in some cases, in a couple of cases, it's a couple of towns. Well, we can't amend it in terms of county tax, right, only in communications.
I'm sorry, say that again?
We can't, there's one here that's county tax, which we can change, correct? And then the communications interest, we can?
Based on Chelsea's research, that's what it states.
Okay. Then I'd like to give the towns a break on the communications, especially because this was an interesting year, communications.
What do you mean, give them a break? Are you saying we shouldn't charge them
Interest on the communications. So that may, but I can just, you can just take a vote, I'll vote against it.
You're going to vote against what? The whole thing?
Yes.
So you're not making an amendment?
I'll make the amendment.
Okay. You would like to amend this to remove the interest from the communications
Correct.
bills?
Yes.
Do I hear a second? I'll happily second it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? 2 in favor, 1 opposed. Thank you. Now we return to the original motion as amended. Any further discussion?
No.
I guess the only discussion I would add is, based on what Kathy is saying, I don't want to set a precedent of late payments when it puts the county in a position to have to borrow money and pay interest. So that's my motivation for voting to approve the motion as originally stated. And so, yeah, that's my motivation.
I think Kathy said that it has been done before. I don't think we're setting a precedent. I think it's been done before. And
It might have been last year or the year before when we were really first started facing an issue with communications. At that point, yes, it was decided not to do it for that particular time. I'm not sure we're in that same situation right now. And we have very little opportunities for us to collect any type of additional payments or revenue. And I think it's very clear as to when things are due to us and requirements of towns and cities.
Yeah. So I tend to take that into consideration, and I think that we should just be very clear. You know, if we're not in a unique situation necessarily now, and this is kind of the situation moving forward, then it would be setting a precedent.
Well, let me go back. I know we already voted. I'd like to give it, I don't want it to be a permanent,
it's not.
yeah, but at some point, you know, if the bill doesn't get paid the next time. This is a one-off because of the difficulties we have with communications. And they still have to pay, Alamo still has to pay the interest on their county tax.
I've only been here a few years, but I will make the observation that so far every year has been a hard year for budgeting and billing. I mean, there has not been an easy year. you know, and to say that, oh, this is an easy year. Well, it may be a little easier, but this is not an easy year either.
I
The
don't
argument in
think it is
favor of
that
us
much.
taking in that money is because we don't have a lot of money, and we might need that extra $1,000. But I will still support the motion as amended at this point. So, any other discussion?
I'm sorry, can I also make one other point, is that county tax is due to us on September 1st along with communications. Some town cities do not pay us until 11/1 because they know that interest will not accrue until that time. So that also hurts us as a county from a cash flow perspective when towns and cities do not pay us September 1st for county tax.
You look like you're deep in thought.
I'm just looking at it, so what we have left to vote on is whether charge interest for the county tax, that's what's left, correct?
No, we haven't, well, we haven't voted. As this is amended, is
Oh,
we
yeah.
are charging interest on the county tax, but not on the communications.
Oh, we just voted
That's-
to change it. that
Yes.
we- Oh, I
Yeah.
thought we voted on.
No,
Oh, okay.
we haven't voted on it yet.
Okay.
I mean, you can also repeal your amendment, choose, because we haven't voted on it yet.
No.
Okay. All those in favor of the act as amended? 2 in favor, none opposed, 1 opposed, I'm assuming.
I am opposed.
Yes. Thank you.
Make sure, I didn't raise my hand, but Chelsea, you got my,
Yeah.
my no vote. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have, oh, look at that. We have an executive session, it's the only thing left.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Since we took our vote on the budget, representative from the sheriff's department is chairing the meeting, and I wondered if we wanted to ask any questions of the chief deputy concerning the budget that we weren't aware of, if he had any information.
I don't right now, unless you had some questions for me.
Very curious.
Try to answer.
Well, I think the biggest question is, does the sheriff's department think that they can fit underneath the cap of spending no more than last year's budget?
We are confident that we can stay within last year if need be, yes.
Well, need be.
Well, we're still in this
Yeah.
transition
Right.
until we see if we get help from the legislature.
Well, but
have a
that's not
normal
going to
budget
happen on
process.
January 1st.
Correct, we understand
So,
that.
The discussion we had, and we postponed until January the vote to increases and for all the people, because we didn't have the information whether or not you were able to do that or not. Does this include communications as well, with the changes that are happening there? I mean, not communications, corrections?
Yes.
In that case, I'd like to go back and reevaluate the vote we made, because that was the question we had, is how the sheriff department vote. If that's the case, then I don't mind going back and authorizing the steps to take place January 1st.
I don't have my Roberts, but since you voted in the majority to
Right.
table it, you can make a motion to untable it, in effect, take it off the table, I believe. Is there a second to that? To take it off the table?
Well, I'll make that motion and decide a second or not,
Yes.
we can discuss it. And I'd like to at least have the discussion.
Well, then I will second it,
Okay.
and then we'll vote to untable it. Right?
Okay.
All those in favor? 2 in favor, 1 opposed, I'm assuming.
I am opposed.
Then my
Just-
question.
It's that look on your face when you think.
I mean, you can ask
Okay,
me how I'm
yes.
voting. So.
Yes.
My
So,
question.
okay, this is really just to discuss it again.
And it wasn't here for that previous.
Right, and I
discussion.
just wanted to, so my question for Kathy and Mike is knowing what Chief Deputy Andrick has just said, does that make it easier to go ahead on January 1st for the steps, as opposed to waiting for us to vote on January 18th? And I don't know, will there be any additional information we'll have then that we don't have now?
Yes. The Sheriff's Department was one of the departments that had no issue covering their increases. It's other departments, 6 other departments that cannot do it. So the 300,000 still is exactly the same. So I don't think anything's changed since we discussed
Well, I
this.
thought the reason we tabled this was we didn't have the information from the Sheriff's Department.
Well, what we really need from the Sheriff's Department is going back to all of the department managers working together, that the Sheriff's Department helping to cover some of the overages in other departments. That we said we don't have those answers because we haven't had those discussions yet.
Okay, that clearly. Okay, then
And
I just need to vote against tabling the previous motion.
Well, we've untabled it.
Right.
We've taken it off the table so we can discuss it a little more.
Okay.
And I think Kathy's point is, we still don't know department to department who's got a little extra money, who doesn't have extra money to cover their costs. And that's stuff that has to be worked out between the departments, between finance and administration, so that we get to the point the first week or second week in January that we now have that strategy that I keep mumbling about, where we know where it's coming from. And so,
Then I'll make a motion to keep the vote as we
well, to
resumed.
retable it,
Retable
put it back on the
Yeah.
table till January. Yes. And then, do I have a second to that?
I will second that.
All those in favor of the tabling?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing to put up with us.
And thank you
You're
for the
welcome.
clarity. I was a little confused about what exactly you needed. So I thought it was just the absence of the department.
Well, I thought you all made the right decision. Preliminary discussions, at least with people I've heard from the airport, DA, they can cover themselves. They have found ways to do it. I don't know if that still stands, but at least that's the hope.
Yeah. We know that
There's
there's
hope
some
out there.
departments, we know that there's some departments that
Yeah.
can wiggle a little bit of
Yeah.
room out of it, but there are also departments that are, I mean, in general, we appreciate how close to the bone every department works in the county. We know, despite what other people think about, there's a lot of money, waste, fraud, and abuse kicking around. We know, having been on this side for years now, that there isn't a lot of extra money in every department, that, you can find 5% here and there. We know it's a struggle. And we really appreciate the fact that everybody has worked so hard over the years to have tight budgets, but that puts us in this bind now that when we are stuck with last year's money, there isn't a lot of extra money kicking around.
Yep.
So we do appreciate that. And the only way it's going to work is, as Kathy's pointed out, if some of the departments that find it a little easier will help some of the departments that have it even harder.
100%.
And we're hoping
There's
for
hope.
that cooperation from department to department.
I'll make a motion, we move into executive session.
I'll second that.
You need the,
Yeah, you might as well
make a
do
motion,
that.
we convene an executive session for personnel matters pursuant to 1 MRSA 40568.
Any further discussion on that motion? Oh, has it been seconded?
Yes.
Any further discussion on that? Seeing as there's none, thank you all very much for coming. We appreciate your time. I hope it were entertaining at least. With that? Yeah, and I was going to say, and now I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Oh, it's executive session, we can't talk to Steve. What?
The separation and transfer policy, you approved that, correct?
Yes.
Can I get a copy of that?
You can now, yes.
There you go.
Well,
You
I
want
should
it
be,
electronically?
it should be available before it's voted on.
Yeah, of course. We're voting on it, yeah.
Yeah, let me talk to these guys.
And
Mike,
Mike,
on
No, we don't.
Mike will
for the correction.
It's, I think we're still negotiating that between the administration figure out what the contract says. Mike Schultz is our HR person. Have you met? There it is.
There it is. 10 seconds. What's that? We're back on. Thank you.
So, we're back in session after executive session. There's no business that came out of the executive session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We usually discuss, thank you.
I'll second it.
We usually discuss our next meeting. We don't have another meeting scheduled at this point till our January regular meeting. If something comes up and we need a special meeting, whether it's budget or personnel or anything else, I'm sure Chelsea can find a date that we're all available. But at this point, we have nothing else scheduled. Any other business to come before the commission? Seeing none. All those in favor of adjournment? 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Oh, locked.
Damn it.
Things for us to sign?
Yes.
Ah,
Oh, Lord.
thought I was hungry.